The seat beside him was empty, just as it had been for the past 3 years, until a fragile little voice asked, "Can I sit here?" He looked up, expecting a parent. Instead, he saw the face of a sick child who would change his life forever. Open Book Chapter 1, The Little Girl Who Asked for a Seat. The train rattled forward through the winter morning, fog hugging the windows like a memory refusing to fade. Ethan Hale, a 38-year-old widowed CEO, sat stiffly in his usual seat, first row by the window, where his wife used to rest her head during their morning commutes. 3 years had passed since her death, but grief had a stubborn way of lingering, clinging to the quiet moments like dust on forgotten shelves. Ethan wasn't traveling for business today. In fact, he rarely rode public transport anymore. But today the roads were blocked due to a city event, and the train was his only option. He didn't like it. Too many memories, too many families, too much laughter he no longer felt part of. He was staring blankly out the window when he heard it. A soft, strained voice. "Sir, can I sit here?" He turned, expecting a parent trying to find a seat for their child. Instead, a little girl stood beside him, clutching a worn pink backpack to her chest. She looked around 8, maybe 9. Her cheeks were pale, and dark circles sat beneath her eyes. She wore a knitted purple hat, too big for her tiny head, and her breathing carried a faint wheeze. "Of course," he said, surprised by how quickly the words left him. He shifted so she could climb up. "Thank you," she whispered, sliding into the seat with effort. Ethan noticed the hospital bracelet partly hidden under her jacket cuff. The girl must have seen him looking, because she quickly tugged the sleeve down. She stared out the window for a moment before speaking again. "My name is Lily, Ethan," he said softly. She smiled, but it was a tired smile, the kind adults wear when they've seen too much of life too early. Ethan felt something shift inside him, a quiet ache he hadn't felt in years. "Are you going somewhere special?" he asked. "Yes," she said, holding the backpack tighter. "A very important place. I have an appointment today." Her voice wavered, but she hid it with another smile. Ethan didn't press further, though curiosity tugged at him. After a few minutes of silence, Lily suddenly asked, "Do you believe people meet for a reason?" The question hit him harder than he expected. "I used to," he said honestly. She turned her small face toward him, eyes bright with innocence and something much heavier. "I still do." Ethan looked at her. Something in her expression felt familiar, a kind of bravery wrapped in sadness. Lily didn't fidget or complain. She simply leaned her head against the window and watched the world blur by. Halfway through the ride, she began coughing, a deep, painful cough that made Ethan straighten in concern. She put a hand over her chest, trying to catch her breath. "Are you all right?" Ethan asked gently, his voice suddenly protective in a way he didn't expect. She nodded weakly. "It just happens sometimes." Ethan hesitated, then reached into his bag and offered her a small water bottle. "Here." She accepted it with shaky hands. "Thank you, Mr. Ethan. You're kind." He hadn't been called kind in a long time. Not since his wife, Grace, used to say it every morning before kissing his cheek. When the train neared the city hospital, Lily perked up. "This is my stop," she said softly. "Thank you for letting me sit here. Today is really important. Do you need someone with you?" Ethan asked without thinking. She looked at him, this time with a seriousness that didn't belong on the face of a child. "I always go alone. Mama has work. And, it's not her fault." Her voice cracked. Ethan felt something inside him break open. Before he could respond, the doors opened, and Lily stepped out, almost swallowed by the crowd. She turned once and gave him a small wave before disappearing toward the hospital entrance. Ethan remained frozen, staring after her long after the train pulled away. It had been years since anything had stirred his heart, but a sick little girl he'd met by chance had managed to do it in minutes. And something told him their paths weren't finished crossing. Not even close. Open Book Chapter 2, The Secret Behind the Little Girl's Smile. Ethan couldn't shake the image of Lily's tired smile. All day, through meetings and calls, her voice echoed in his head. "Do you believe people meet for a reason?" That evening, as he sat alone in his large, silent penthouse, surrounded by walls his wife once filled with warmth, he finally grabbed his coat. Something compelled him to return to the hospital. He told himself it was curiosity. But deep down, he knew it was something else. Something gentler, something human. When he arrived, the lobby was quiet, the air heavy with disinfectant and fear. He approached the reception desk hesitantly. "I'm looking for a young girl named Ethan."